Hi Lee. So Casey Palmer's officially signed today.
Yeah.
How do you see him fitting in to Bristol City's plans?
Well, I see him fitting in centrally. I think I like him as a 10 or an 8-10, if you like, depending on which formation is played, with three in the middle. It's something that we've looked at, like the cost of sort of top class strikers is extreme at the moment going around the place. We've tweaked the formation. I think it's been very attacking still. You know, we talked about that 4-1-4-1 or the 4-2-3-1 that gets you a 10 in there. And we've got a lot of energy and pace wide. We've been scoring goals and keeping clean sheets in recent weeks, which is good. And we want to add a little bit of sparkle that we think Casey can do.
Yeah, he said to us just before that the position thing was a big thing for him as well. And he also said that Tammy Abraham had said good stuff about the club, and that's good to hear, isn't it? We were just saying before we came in actually that Tammy seems to have had a role with all the Chelsea guys, helping to bring them in.
Yeah, well, I think naturally as a player, you know, they're very close, of course, because they've been brought up in the youth team together, and we've got a fantastic relationship with Chelsea. I think it's worked for both parties with all the signings that we've had from there, and they're quality players. You know that Chelsea heavily invested in their youth system over a number of years. Over the last 10 years, and you can really see that coming through, and it's great that we get to work with I think a very, very talented English player.
Could Casey stay longer than the 6 months he's going to be here?
Well, we'll have to see really. I always like to start with the potential of that, do you know what I mean? Because obviously I'm there to coach, and my staff are there to coach the player as well, so do you know what I mean? We always want to feel like there's the potential to do that, but it's always in Chelsea's hands or the parents' club hands in that respect, and we'll just see how it goes. But certainly he's a player that I believe in, and I believe he can be successful at this level.
Is there a pre-agreed deal on that one?
Like I say, I don't really get involved in all the contract sort of the intricate details, so wrong question, and not the wrong question, the wrong man to ask.
No worries. Do you still want to bring in a 9.5 player that you mentioned in previous press conferences? You still aim to bring in another striker, or is that how you see Casey?
Well, I think Casey could do that role. It'd be interesting, like if you're making sort of direct comparisons with Bobby Reid, there's a lot, you know, like the way they handle the ball, the sharpness, that sort of power to move in behind. It'd be interesting to see whether Casey's got that natural instinct to be able to come short and spin like Bobby had. It wasn't natural, we worked on it, but he took to it like a duck to water. So it's something that we might play around with, but his sort of main purpose really will be that sort of 8-10 attacking midfield. And it's good now because we've got very different attributes in there, with Marlon Pack obviously sort of steady, assured, good in the build-up play. Brownie busy but can also play that deeper one. Pato that sort of plays that 8-10 as well, and can also play wide. So there's quite a lot of options and a lot of mobility now in our midfield, and that's what I think you need at this level.
And Casey joins at a good time, 9 unbeaten, and a great result last weekend against Huddersfield. How do you reflect on that game now?
I think it was a brilliant result. I was like looking back on the game. I didn't think it was the most exciting game to watch while I was here live, but looking back on it, there was some fantastic moves, and our build-up play was excellent again. Good to get the goal, and such a good goal, particularly pleased for Brownie. So it's a Premier League scalp, and we can't start thinking that we can just do this week in, week out against these Premier League teams. Every one has to be celebrated as a very, very good victory.
Yeah, great result, and a 5th Premier League side seen off. Just a couple of questions on the transfer market then, just to round off. Is there any chance that Mo or Max or Joe could leave on loan?
Joe
Morel.
Joe Morel. Yes, I think there is. We've had a number of offers for Mo Issa. I think that it'd be fantastic for Mo to just make another little step before he is sort of ready to be an absolute regular starter. He's jumped up 6 leagues in 18 months, done very well, looking good in training. You know what I'm like sometimes when we sign these young players that haven't had this exposure, I like to let them have a look at it for a while. I know sometimes it frustrates the fans, but what it allows is when they come into it properly and they completely understand the systems that is intricate and the way that we play and what we demand of the players. And you have to have a certain tactical grounding, and often that takes 6-7 months. The likes of Nicholas Eliasson, I think, is a good example of that. But Mo Issa is very hungry to play, hungry to score goals. And look, I'm not saying for definite, but there has been interest and there could be potential. I'll sit down with Mo probably in the next sort of 5 to 10 days and discuss all the various options, including staying in and fighting for his place. Joe Morrell, it's a tough one because Joe is ever so close. Like what he's been on the bench, apart from the game he was suspended over the last sort of 5 or 6. So again, we'll have to see, but there has been interest in him. And Max is probably the trickiest one of all, because it's a goalkeeper. We've seen how well he performs. He's on our bench at the moment. Yes, you want to allow him to continue his path and progression, but you also want to be able to recall him, and you can only do that if you loan him to the conference. There has been league offers on loan for him, and it's frustrating for me as much as it is for Max. And if, like in midfield, you can rotate and you can play 3 in the middle, and midfielders always feel like they've got a chance to play, whereas sometimes goalkeepers can feel like there's not light at the end of the tunnel. But the light at the end of the tunnel for Max is that we believe in him as a long-term prospect, having obviously one that's come for our academy, and like he has to be fighting for a true number 1 spot in the next sort of year to 18 months.
How's the squad facing up for Bolton Wanderers League?
All right, we have had one illness today. I won't reveal who it is, but bit of a virus, not the same, not like a sickness bug, but a bit of a throat and chest. But in general, everybody's got over the sort of torrid time we had over the last 14 days.
Is Eros Pisano going to come back into the reckoning?
Eros is close. Eros had a grade 1 abductor strain, so it was like 7 to 14 days. He's been out on the pitches, out on the grass, as has Corey Smith and Liam Walsh. Obviously they're quite a bit behind that, probably looking at a mid-Feb return for those two. Walshy might be a week ahead of Corey, to be honest, but it's good to see him out there, and they'd be doing a lot of running from now until then, so been calling Corey Kip Canoe, I think.
Thanks, Lee. Good luck.
Thank you.
Lee, just quickly on going back to Casey Palmer, I just wanted to know who initiates that idea of Casey Palmer coming to Bristol City. Do you go to Chelsea and say we want Casey Palmer, or do they offer you the chance to take a young player not off their hands, but giving them to you?
No, it's a joint effort. First and foremost, you've got to identify the player that you believe would make you better. It wasn't just Casey. There's 5 or 6, if you like, that would have been on that list, and Casey was top of it for that particular role. So often you don't get your top targets. You have to, especially a club like Bristol City, we sort of have to sort of work our place at the table, if you like. So delighted, probably again due to the decent relationship we've got, to be able to bring him in from Chelsea. And at that point you ask, is the player available? And then I'm sure at that point Chelsea go to the player and say, look, we've received a bit of interest, do you fancy it? And obviously if the agent and the player does fancy it, then I get a chance to talk to them, which happened, and the rest is history.
And just finally on Bolton, they played a weird situation of 2 home games back to back against Bolton. What do you make of their current situation off the field, and does it really have an impact on the field?
I was thinking of asking them to double up on Saturday and we could have a weekend off, eh? I think, well, listen, you have to take each individual game on its merits first and foremost. I think Bolton, it's been really well documented in recent days and weeks about that they're having a difficult time, but often that can create a cause, and I know that the manager Phil Parkinson very well, and my teams have come against his teams really ever since I've been a manager, and they're always very, very organised, very disciplined. Generally signs experienced players, and experienced players generally make good decisions. So it'd be interesting and a big hurdle and a big challenge for us to see whether we can deal with their experience, and whether our youth can in turn show them those youthful exuberance and try and get the result that we want.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers, Lee.